Matt Scharff, man. He's got some great stories. Good morning. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to the Scratch Golf Show. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Marco and I'm your host. Here on the Scratch Golf Show, we talk about all things golf, YouTube, and professional. And today we're dropping a huge interview with OG Good member Matt Scharff. Now, Matt and I get into everything from Good's future, how much his life has changed, Jack Nicklaus, and a ton of other great topics. You're going to want to stick around to the end. Before we get into the interview, I'm going to need two simple favors from you. I need you to please hit that subscribe button below and please hit that like button below. Both those things really do help the channel, and I'm trying to grow this thing to 10,000 subscribers by the end of summer. Now, without further ado, let's get into it with Matt Scharff. Oh, we have another guest. Anyway, Mr. Matt Scharff. Matt, how we doing, man? How's life? Just coming back from vacation with the wife? How was that? How's
Yeah.
life going?
Hey, life is, can't complain because no one listens. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Life is pretty awesome. Like you said, I just got back from Jamaica. Me and Maddie celebrated our 2 years of marriage, so that was pretty awesome. Now we're trying to get back into the kick of things. We've got a couple of good trips and stuff that we're trying to work through, and had a couple meetings yesterday and stuff. So yeah, we're just kind of getting back into the swing of things, and got a couple of busy months ahead of us. But yeah, I feel freaking awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Excited to have you. Congratulations on 2 years. Me and my wife got married last year. I can't believe it's been 2 years, man. I actually was just like looking through some old videos and Instagram posts, and I saw that the picture of you and Grant getting engaged in Greece. I'm like, man, that feels like it was yesterday, and I can't believe it's been 2 years since you've been married. So congratulations, man. Your vacation looked awesome. Super jealous. But yeah, dude, I feel like you guys are always having busy months. Like, does Good ever not have a busy month? Like, are you guys ever not busy when you're recording
Yeah,
and stuff?
I mean, sometimes we can have like some of those weeks where, a couple of weeks where we're not really doing anything. Uh, but it just, that kind of ebbs and flows, unfortunately. Sometimes, obviously in the summer months, it's just going to naturally be more busy because that's where we can kind of film pretty much anywhere. The winter months and, Thanksgiving and Christmas, those kind of blend in together sometimes. So those months can obviously be a little slower. But yeah, for the most part, we're grinding pretty heavily. Good's gonna try, and we're on track to try and increase our content too. Instead of 2 weeks or 2 days a week, we're trying to maybe possibly get to three. So it's gonna get busier here, and for the following years to come, it'll probably be a little bit more busy. But sometimes we'll have a couple of weeks. Like right now in October, we've got like nothing really scheduled, right? And then, September will come around and it's like, hey, we got to fill this in. And then October will all be busy. And then same for November and stuff. But yeah, it's usually just a constant busy flow.
That's crazy, man, that you guys are trying to up production. First off, shout out to all the guys behind the scenes, Colin, Max, Luis, all the production guys. I think most of them follow me, but shout out to those guys. Those guys are the unsung heroes who really do a lot of the legwork. No offense to you boys on camera, but I know those guys get do a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, especially if you guys are going to be up in production. But that's going to be a good segue into our first question for you, Matt. Is how how crazy has it from good going back to what you guys were when you first started to now, and like where it's like just a few guys running a YouTube channel to now like a full scale business and operation. Like, and just talk to me about how what these last few years have been like for you personally, and then obviously growing the brand into like a global brand essentially as to what it is now.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Like you said, we were just a couple of dudes filming dumb videos. We really were, and that's kind of where we saw it going. We was just going to continuously do that. Um, but we had some investors reach out and they were like, hey, we actually want to invest in you guys. Obviously me, Garrett, and Steve, we tried to do bro 5. We were like, hey, we can just do this. But we didn't really have anybody on the back end. It was just us and Brody, and Brody was like the older guy who just had all the knowledge and wisdom and stuff, and we're like, well, we'll just let him do it. And clearly that didn't work out. um, and so then we're like, hey, some investors are actually interested in putting capital into us and investing time and energy and helping us start, maybe some apparel and actually making this a legit business. And obviously we had our reservations. We were like, we did this. It's probably not going to work out. It it took a lot of convincing from me and Steven, especially, being, college dropouts, and kind of, especially me kind of having like my life, not more so, I guess, in order, but like, I had scholarships to college, and I had like this whole dream and whole plan of where I was going to go, and, what my path was going to be. And then I just dropped all that. Steven, same thing. He had like this whole, I'm sure this whole plan, we didn't really get into it, but of what we were going to do and stuff. So kind of dropping all that again to start this business where, oh, well, some people want to invest in us. And we're kind of like, okay, who cares? And then they did. And we had some great meetings and kind of talked about our vision and our goals for what we wanted and what we, wanted Good to be. And then it started to, after that first trip in Danzante Bay, which is where I actually met Max Putnam for the first time, we started to kind of look around and say, all right, this could be something. We could turn this into something, huge. Nothing global, right? For the first couple of years, it was not like we're going to just be this global brand and get recognition in freaking Australia and everywhere. Like that's not where we were at. But started to slowly grow, and people really started to love the content, the cool stuff that we were doing. And a couple of years go by, or a couple of months go by or whatever, and we drop our first apparel and it sells out, and that's like unheard of, for a startup company to just sell out all of their apparel. And then it slowly started to grow and grow and grow, and now we're freaking here.
Yeah, man, it really is crazy. And you guys have gone through so many iterations, right? Obviously, there was the initial good, and then Grant Tig came in, and then obviously Quan, and then now the JNA Sean. There's been so many different like iterations of the roster, but I guess the core four, when you want to call it, you, Garrett, Steve, and Bubby, have kind of been there since the beginning. Talk to me a little bit about how much your life has changed, like just like maybe getting recognized in public or just growing to kind of be like this YouTube celebrity. I don't even know what to call it, but you're famous. Like, I'm sure you get recognized all the time. Just talk to me a little bit how much your life has changed outside of good while the brand has grown these last few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird, dude. I mean, going from literally a kid that you know nobody knew, obviously other than my friends that I had in Kansas and whatever, and my work friends in McDonald's and Olive Garden. It's kind of like, that was it. That was who Matt was, just this weird dude. And then GM golf, we're doing stuff with Garrett, started to pick up a little bit, and I got recognized at golf courses and stuff, and it was just small or whatever. But once Good started to really take off, you know, obviously once you get on the golf course, it's tough to, if you're on a range and there's a bunch of people there that are fans, you're gonna, we're gonna be stopped, and it's gonna take a second to, film and get stuff going. And I think when that first started to happen, it was really, really weird. It was like, holy crap, like what is, I would like even like ask questions like, why do you know who I am? Like, who am I? And they're like, oh, you're freaking Matt. And they would just go on. I'm like, what? I'm literally, and I would be like, I'm just a guy. I'm just some guy that films YouTube videos. That's literally all I do. And they would be like, no, 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 you got me into golf. You inspired me to get into golf, and you did this and you did this. And I'm like, it was really tough to wrap my brain around that, because for me, it was just like, I'm just some guy who hits golf balls and puts it on YouTube, and that's it. But to kind of start hearing that I was starting to impact the younger generation, and even now, like older people, in their 30s and 40s, are like, you helped me get back into golf. I used to play back in the day, played in college, but you helped me get back into golf. So hearing that sort of stuff now is really, really crazy. And like I said, me and Maddie were just in, Jamaica, and I think I got recognized like 7 or 8 times from people that were also on vacation. They're like, wait, Matt, you're good. What are you doing here? And it blows my mind sometimes, because I'm just in like this country that I've never been to, and that I didn't really plan. I didn't tell people, hey, I'm going to Jamaica in 2 weeks. I just kind of showed up, and people were like, wait, Matt from Good, what are you doing here? I'm like, what is going on? Why do you know me here? And it still is weird, and it will probably be weird for the rest of my life. But it's a good weird. And I think now being in a position where I'm not just some golfer who hits balls and makes the greatest shots on YouTube, right? I mean, geez,
A
uh,
few hole in ones later,
right?
huh?
But being this guy that is now like impacting and influencing the next generation of golfers is crazy. And I've obviously, we'll probably talk about later, joining, kind of getting back into my faith journey, and realizing that this is not, I'm not just some golfer who hits golf balls anymore. Like, there is now a different purpose in my life, and I have to be able to understand that, and I got to be able to you know do the right, try my best to do the right things, and preach what I want to try to preach my message, and try and get the right message across to everybody instead of just saying, oh, I'm just a golfer who makes a lot of money on YouTube and that's my only job. That now that there is a different purpose in why I do what I do, and trying to impact the generations into leaning more, into that, I guess, has also been kind of difficult. But um, yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and I'm very blessed to be in a position where I can impact anyone. You know,
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of touched on it. Like, first of all, good for you for realizing. I mean, you're kind of at the age, I'm 31, so obviously I'm a little older than you, but you kind of went through all this fame and rise in a weird age, like when you're in your, early to mid 20s, where it could have gone a lot of different ways. And I think you maybe, and I know we just talked about it off camera, but all the good guys, I've had great experience with, whether it's John, Ashton, Brad, Sean, the list goes on and on. But I think a lot of you guys realize that you have a platform and you are using it for good. Like, you realize the impact you can have on a lot of people in the younger generation, even in the older generation. Because I get this, much smaller scale, but I get some comments from people, probably from your viewers, the good viewers who say, hey, I'm 53, getting back into the game through YouTube golf. And I think that is so cool from someone who loves professional golf, like grew up watching professional golf. And then when the YouTube golf world was kind of created, seeing that was so cool. But good for you guys for realizing that you do have a platform. And like I said, everyone from Good has treated me so well. And you guys really are awesome and humble, and have not let the success go into your head. Speaking of success and capital, you kind of talked about it earlier. It's been obviously a few months since then, but the $45 million investment was huge news. I mean, a YouTube channel, right, getting $45 million from Peyton Manning, with a number of different investors, with Peyton Manning being the headline one. Talk about that. I don't think, at least I haven't found any, like, your thoughts on anything, but just a quick blurb on how crazy that is and kind of what that capital is going to be used for to impact Good for the next years, or however long that capital is going to be used for.
yeah, I mean that was trust me, that was a shock to everyone. Like you said, we're just a YouTube. We're just a bunch of. I don't remember if this is still our mantra for our YouTube little headline thing, but it just says 6 dudes, 1 golf course, or whatever it says. Like, that's literally what we are. We're just 6 dudes that go film videos, and like we're just a bunch of weird dudes at the end of the day. Uh, so as this was kind of being worked out in the back end, and then obviously became public news that we had this large investment. Uh, it was insane. It was a big shock to think that we're able to scale that large, uh, from just using like freaking cameras like this. Like, this is it. This is my life. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. Uh, just a dude, a microphone, and a camera. And now we've been able to scale to a position where we have a large sum of money. Um, and I guess not really like anything's gonna like change drastically. It's not like we're gonna be completely different, people. It's just essentially it's this big sum of money that's gonna help just scale the business, just make it bigger. Try and you know, globally wise, that's kind of where we want to try to hit. We want to hit those areas. We want to try to get down to Australia. We want to get to Japan. I know there's a big Asian market for golf, especially. So trying to get over there and break over into that atmosphere. And we have a distribution center in the UK, and we're trying to get one in Australia, and trying to get distribution centers, all around the world, so that, Good can be this global golf brand that can be seen by, not just, tens of millions, but maybe 100 million, even in the billions, of people that can see, what we're trying to do and how we're trying to change the game of golf, from this idea that we all know and have. So I guess that's kind of where the money and like what all the investments that we're receiving are going to do, is we're just going to try our best to be this big global brand, and still film fun videos and keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it really is cool. And I think it has opened some doors. Obviously, we've seen you guys film with some NFL teams. Obviously, you guys did the live event in Austin, which I know some of the guys have said that that door was opened via that investment, as well as I know we're doing the live event in September with the NBA, I believe, which is super cool to see you guys filming with all these athletes. We'll get actually into that later. I want to ask you about filming with Steph Curry and stuff like that. But I want to transition a little bit, because you just talked about, into the business side of Good. And I don't know how in depth you can go on this, but we've heard some other members, like Sean, for example. I know everyone has a role, right? Like, you guys don't just show up to the course and film and then go home. Like, I know a lot of the people in the organization. Even your guys, the members have roles. So I guess could you go into a little bit more about maybe what your role is, what some other people do behind the scenes that maybe doesn't get recognized? Because I don't think anyone has really ever talked about outside of Kendrick, just the business side of Good, and I'd be curious if some people would be interested in that. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess my role, I can make my role like whatever I want it to be. Like how much I want to be involved in the business is all entirely up to me. I think that's maybe where the fans maybe don't understand is they're just like, oh, all right, Matt, he just shows up on the golf course and films, and then he has the easiest life ever. And at face value, I can see why they would say that. Because that's just kind of what's seen. You don't really see the back end. We're not filming the back end of the business and what's actually going on to make things work. Um, but yeah, it's much more than that. I think it's tough for me being the on camera talent and having to travel everywhere to want to do 1,000 different things. I think that's just it would my head would explode. Like I generally just could not do it. So I think, like I said, I can be as involved as I want to. We just had a couple meetings about apparel, for instance. So we have an amazing apparel team that does designs and figures out what's trendy and what's new and coming up with new hat ideas and this and that. And so it's kind of like if I want to be involved in that, then I go. I jump in the meetings and I say, hey, listen, here's what I think would be great. Here's what I will wear. Here's what I won't wear. And we just had a probably a 2-hour meeting about apparel, some new stuff coming, and we're trying to break out into more of the lifestyle clothing. I love, I was just like I said, I was in Jamaica. We were in Cancun for Brad's wedding. I love kind of like that style and wearing some of that fun, airy stuff. So I told him like, hey, this is what I'd love to have. I'd love to have this where I can wear a little, tank underneath and leave the shirt open and, it's Jamaica man, like trying to get that vibe going, right? So that I feel like I was super involved in that. And they, we all sit down, myself, Bubby, Garrett, like we were all in that meeting and we all have different opinions. This is where it gets difficult and good because we all have a bunch of different opinions. And Matt loves something, and Garrett loves something, and Bobby loves something, and it's just this whole line of who loves what, and how do we incorporate all of that for all of us to help meet our needs so that we'll actually wear the stuff on the golf course. So I think for the fans, that's where it does get tricky. I can't just step in the meeting and be like, all right, well, this is what we're doing, right? Everybody else get on board. We all have to sit down with 6, 7, 8 different, even the cameramen, Max and Colin are there. They're talking about, hey, here's what I think is good. So it is this whole crazy mess. So we can't necessarily always have a meeting, every single Monday about apparel and, okay, well, you loved it this week. Now what do you love? There does have to be somebody that's like, all right, we're going to do this, on the back end of the business. We're going to do this. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't work. This is what we're going to do. So I guess for apparel, that's kind of where that can go. But again, we're as involved as we want to be in whatever we want to be involved in. Obviously Sean's kind of taken on this role of the managerial kind of getting golf courses set up, and he's got a lot of connects. Him and Brad both, being in pro golf and just having a lot of connections to lots of different cool courses and stuff. They kind of do that. Max and Colin, they're the brains behind the engine of coming up with a lot of ideas, trying to keep it fresh for all the good guys, and also kind of helping with managing that sort of stuff for Sean and trying to help him out. And they're all kind of helping each other. So it just kind of depends, if there's a contact that I have that, I'm good friends with, I'm like, hey, this person wants to film with us, let's get this planned. I'll plan a trip. Bubby's a Chicago boy. He's playing the Chicago stuff. So it kind of can ebb and flow amongst all of us. So, whoever wants to kind of take over something, and there's, we all kind of try our best to work together. Like I said, there's just a bunch of different opinions. There's a bunch of different dudes that all want, something specific. So it can get a little hairy sometimes, but that's why we have meetings. That's why we talk about it when we're on good trips. We discuss amongst each other what works, what doesn't, what we can do to improve, and those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, if I want to freaking jump into the business side of things and be as involved as I want, I can be. I really can be. But I think that's why the dichotomy amongst the teams works so well between the people who are on camera and the people who run the business works so well because they know what they're doing. They know how to take care of that stuff, and we know how to take care of the YouTube stuff. So it just kind of works perfectly.
Yeah, everyone kind of knows their roles type thing. Let's talk a little bit about the last year or so. You guys have had some really big roster additions. Sean, I know Brad was a couple years ago, but Sean and Brad kind of are a package deal now because of how good they are. Melosi, Blake, and the J&A boys as well have all been some really big acquisitions in my opinion. Talk a little bit about those roster additions. Do you have any insight into kind of are you scouting people? And I guess talk to me just a little bit about how those roster additions have helped the Good brand continue to grow and scale as you guys have done that over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had a bunch of people coming and going in Good, which was, was going to happen. Um, but I think, when we had Luke come in for that period of time because we needed a good golfer, I think that's when we started to realize, okay, how can we add not only one good golfer, but how can we get two so that they can kind of balance each other out? Kwan was freaking unreal, and he just kept winning everything. And we're like, dude, knock it off, start sucking. And he would try. He would try not to just freaking shoot 7, 8 under every single time, but he's too good. The guy's too freaking good. So it's like, well, that's fine, but how do we add someone to kind of balance him out a little bit? And so then that's when we kind of added Brad, and then Brad was just this unreal, energy and personality, and a really, really good golfer. And we started to add him in, and it was working out perfectly. And then Brad started freaking beating us and everything. And we're like, all right, we're about to do the same thing we just did. And then I think it kind of happened like organically because, Sean and Brad knew each other. And, we added Sean, had him in a video or whatever, and it worked out perfectly. Sean was able to balance out Brad a little bit, and we can make the teams a little bit more fair. And I think that's what we've always tried to do. We've tried to do our best in making the teams as fair as possible in the videos because, at the end of the day, it's not really fun for me if I'm getting last in every single video. And it's no fault to them at all. Like, they're unbelievable golfers, but I just can't compete with plus 7.5.
Right. Feel that. Yeah.
Compete with that. So adding those two in was absolutely, I think, what Good needed, and will continue to need as we move forward, is just being able to balance out skill levels. Um, and then yeah, like as far as like looking for talent, we don't necessarily do that. We're not like scouting online and we're like, all right, well, who are we gonna interview next? We try to pride ourselves on as much organicness as we can possibly get. We didn't necessarily search out for Brad. We were just at Oak Tree, and he just naturally and organically kind of jumped into the content with him and the boys, the OU boys. So it just kind of naturally and organically happened that way, and it was kind of very similar for Sean. We didn't sit them both down and interview him and say, "Why do you think you deserve this role?" Which I think the fans really truly need to understand. I get a lot of DMs from people saying, "Hey, I'm a +3. I'll be the next star on Good." Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, okay, we're not. If we did that, we would have hundreds and hundreds of people that we'd have to, and it just wouldn't work, because we just don't want that unorganicness and like that sit down meeting of, well, tell me why you deserve to be here. Everyone's going to have a great answer to that question. Well, here's why I deserve it. Here's why I deserve it. So that's why we don't do that. That's why we don't pick people out. We just kind of organically say, okay, let's just have you in the content a little bit, dip your toe in, right? Dip it in a little bit. And if you're a great fit, guess what? Everyone's going to know. We're all going to know. And if you're, rude and mean and you only care about yourself, then guess what? You're not going to be here, right? And if Brad and Sean did those sorts of things, guess what? They would not be here. It's quite simple how we all work. If you vibe with the group and you're trying your best to make it work, then we're going to try to make it work with you. And Brad and Sean are still here. I mean, Brad, gosh, he's annoying. Gets on my nerves. But the guy is, he is an awesome dude, and I love him a lot. And Sean. So they just they made it work for themselves, and they were just unbelievably nice and showed a lot of potential, obviously, in their golf game, which we wanted. They had something we wanted, and we had something they wanted, and it just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, two of the nicest. Like literally, Sean is like the nicest dude I've ever met. Like
Yeah, well,
I'm
wait
shocked he
till you
hasn't
play golf with
blocked me.
him, right? Wait till you play
Yeah,
golf, right? That's when it gets a little
yeah.
different, right?
Brad, I mean, just like so humble. It's crazy because they're like their solo channels are like taking off. Like
Yeah.
seeing that in real time has been really cool. Let's talk a little bit about a recent content that you guys filmed about a month ago. You guys filmed with the goat film with Jack Nicklaus, which was crazy. I know you guys have filmed at Muirfield Village in the past, but filming an actual video with Jack Nicklaus, talk to me about how cool that was. And I have a question for you because you called him Jack in the video. I don't know if anyone brought that to your attention, but everyone calls him Mr. Nicholas, and you, I think you called him Jack. I just wanted to know if anyone brought that to your attention.
Thanks, Marco. No, I appreciate
Yeah,
it. And no, no,
yeah.
no, thanks, man. Oh man,
Uh,
you know what? It's so weird because Jack, Mr. Nicholas, he's such a bro. Like he's such a bro. When you meet a legend like that, it we're all very nervous. Okay, I think Steven was like, "What's up, brother?" Like, okay,
yeah, you weren't the only one. I know you
what are
weren't the
you
only
doing?
one.
You're all one of the greatest golfers. What's up, brother? Oh my gosh, we all laughed at that for hours. We were laughing at that. So yeah, again, we're just 20-year-old kids. We're literally we're all like, we shouldn't be here. What do we should not be here. What are we actually doing here? Getting to film freaking Jack, talking to him at lunch, ordering what he's ordering. We talked for a long time. Like we spent so many hours with him, and he shared so many different stories. I wrote them all down in my notes so I can tell my kids about it later. Like he it wasn't, you would think that when you meet someone like that, he's going to be like a certain way. You just, when you meet someone very high up there in their craft, you expect them, in your mind to be a certain way, to act a certain way. um, but I think with Jack, he was right off the get-go, apologized for why we couldn't play Muirfield, which everybody got wrong. I mean, fans, what are we doing? You guys all got that wrong. He wasn't saying we couldn't play and you can't play, good can't be here. Like, if you listen to it, you'll understand that he was very sorry, and it was very unfortunate that we weren't able to play. There was some weather stuff and some course maintenance issues and all that sort of stuff, and he just didn't want to send a bad message and those sorts of things. We've played Muirfield before, and Jack invited us back out to play Muirfield whenever we wanted. We got an invite from the GOAT. We can go right now. So that was also kind of misconstrued amongst the public too, that Jack didn't want us there. Not the case at all. But he started right off the bat with that, apologizing, saying, "Hey, so sorry we couldn't get you out of here. I know why you guys wanted to come out or you wanted to film, and I truly do apologize." So he started right off the bat with an apology, which we're like, "Brother, you could punch us all in the face and we're gonna be all right?" So he started off super humble, and he told a lot of great stories. And I like you, I had kind of had some questions prepared, for him, because I obviously didn't want to come empty-handed, and I wanted to ask him some stuff that, people maybe haven't asked him. We learned that he was a catcher, was switch hitting catcher or whatever he said. I was like, huh? What do you mean? Does anybody even know this? The guy's a dog at the end of the day. He's like he was like this athletic G back in the day, which I'm like, good for you. And so we got to ask him some questions that maybe not a lot of people knew. And then when we were done he obviously gave me a putting lesson and made fun of my putter, which was one of the greatest things
That was so
ever had
funny,
happen to
man.
me, which I did not expect. I thought Steven was going to get the lesson, but apparently I got it. And that was such a blessing to be able to be a part of that. To hold my putter and make fun of me and Mo's putter. I have a 31-inch putter and Mo's got a 29-inch putter. So he's over here like, what are we doing? Why you guys got these small, little putters? What's going on? So we had a laugh, and it was just so funny right off the rip. And then when we thought our time was done, he was like, "Well, why don't you join me for lunch?" Huh? We're supposed to have like 30 minutes with you, and you're supposed to go be a legend somewhere else. But he was genuinely, obviously we're partnered with Play Yellow as well, which is the organization that him and Barbara started. And he kind of told us the story about, how that started, and obviously his color is yellow, and so like we started talking about all that, and that's why he was obviously super excited to meet us as one of the brand ambassadors for that. So we got to talk about that a little bit, and he was just so unbelievably excited. And then we had lunch with him and talked even more, and he opened up about a lot of cool different stories that he had when he was on tour and all these people that he played with and doing this. And I'm like, you have so much like in your brain. How do you even remember what you did at your fourth tournament? Like he's like, you would think that he would be like, "Oh, I don't remember nothing." He remembered to the minute detail about some certain shots that he played years and years ago. And I'm like, how could you possibly even remember that? So to be able to sit there and go, wow, it was truly, truly amazing. And he actually, like, I think some of you guys saw, he put on that hoodie, and I think he later told his team, he was like, "Hey, good, they're such cool whippersnappers and such good dudes, and they're doing." And he said they're doing a great thing for the game of golf. And I was like, see, that right there that's a memory and that's something that I'll literally never forget. So meeting him was truly inspiring. So glad I got to call him Jack. What an idiot. Um, so if I see him again, we'll maybe have a laugh about that. But yeah, like I said, he was so cool. He didn't care what we called him. He didn't say, like when you meet someone and they're like, it's Dr. Johnson.
Yeah.
It's Doctor. It's Doctor.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it's Mr. Nicholas. It was, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, call me Jack, call me Mr. Call me whatever you guys want. It was so freaking cool.
That's awesome, man. Super jealous. One, that golf course is awesome. It's not far from where I'm from, here in Detroit. But that's awesome. And seeing him in the hoodie and hearing that he said that what you guys are doing for the game of golf is huge. Because I know you guys catch some flack from a lot of the pro golf side who maybe don't want you guys in the game of golf. But if Jack Nicklaus says it, I mean, who the heck cares what other people have to say? Which that's a really cool experience, man. Like I can't imagine, I get nervous interviewing you guys, so I can't imagine what it's like going up to interview the GOAT, man. So I can completely relate to that. We have some questions from some subscribers, so these can be short answer, long answer, whatever you'd like. The first one is, how's the back, man? We had a few people ask about that. I know you've obviously, and I've someone with some lower back issues myself. How's the back? How's that feeling? And are you able to still kind of live your life with traveling and all that filming with good with the back?
Yeah, the back was, oh man, the back was bad for a while. It really was. I just really wasn't taking as much care as I should have been. Really wasn't stretching as much as I should have been. Thought I was 21 years old and I could just step up and not warm up, and just do whatever I want. So yeah, as I started to slowly deteriorate, right? I started to realize, all right, this is the longevity of my career is going to start crumbling here if I don't start figuring it out. So obviously, I got into that chiropractic work. I got some physical therapy. I got a guy who's helping me out a lot and doing a bunch of different stretches and some core stuff that I need to be doing with my body. And then also diet. 21-year-old kid, I eat and drink whatever the heck I want, and I'll be all right. Unfortunately, guys, that will catch up to you, and it will catch up to you quick. As I'm somehow already 26, I feel like I should still be 21 right now. My life it's just taken off. And so I was just like, oh, I'll just be all right. As a kid, I could just do whatever I want. And so then I started to realize, okay, and especially like when I kind of got back into my faith as well, and started to realize my purpose and started to realize, all right, I got to start treating my body like a temple. I got to start taking care of, this body that the Lord gave me. I can't just do whatever I want. Obviously you can get away with like a cheat meal, have some banana bread, kind of do that sort of stuff if you want, sure. But there's got to be a limit on it. And especially with how much travel that I do, being on airplanes all the time and being in new places where I'm doing new cuisine, like I just got to do my best to take care of myself. Um, and then I got a procedure done a while back called an RFA, where they kind of burn the nerves a little bit along the spine, and I thought that would help, and it did. And that was, I think, oh, Maddie would probably know, probably 2 years ago now. Uh, and my doctor was like, sometimes these can last 6 months, sometimes they can last a year, sometimes they can last indefinitely, and sometimes they can. It's very specific for everybody. So that made me a little nervous, unfortunately, because I was like, I'm going to be back here in 6 months because my back is so bad. But I did that, started to change my life around. Um, Better diet, praying more, just being involved in my word and diving into my faith, and prayer. I think prayer was that is what did it, and that's just what I'm going to have to. That's just what everybody's going to have to know, is that is exactly what did it. Um, Obviously, me and Maddie both kind of jumped into our faith at the same time, and her praying over me. I'm sure a lot of fans were praying over me as well. So all of you guys that did that, I truly do thank you, and it really does mean the world to me that you would even consider doing that. And just a lot of deep reflecting and thought, and changing my habits and changing my ways. And I still have a couple of back flare ups every now and then when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. But overall, in the last 2 years, I've been able to do flips. I'm kind of getting back into some of that old mat kind of stuff, right? and it has been much better, and I'm very thankful for it. But yeah,
Good to hear, man. I see you dunking basketballs and stuff. It's good to see. Good to
you
see.
know,
That's awesome, man. As someone with a, I can't, I my bad back. I got a bad lower back, man. Playing hockey my whole life, and so I don't envy you, man. It's never fun dealing with that type of stuff. The next one, and this is for some real sickos who are fans of you. This was submitted on Instagram, but what is the Holy Grail Lego set? I know you do Scharff Wars, which we'll link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to that and Matt's solo channel. But okay, so we figured. Okay, yeah,
yeah. The
okay.
old UCS Millennium Falcon. That is
Love it, man.
That's the holy grail. I think that one, and I do have another one upstairs. The Hogwarts Castle as well is another holy grail. Those two are some of my most favorite builds. Obviously there's like I try my best to stick with the Star Wars and stick with like a specific thing, but the Titanic, that is insane. That's like over 10,000 pieces. I think that one's just shy of 8,000. So, but for me, Star Wars is just where it's at. It's where it always will be. And that Millennium Falcon is other than if I can somehow find the Death Star, I'm still trying to find that. That is the holy grail of my collection.
Love it. All right. This one, we had a few people submit a similar question, but they want to know if you're still pursuing acting. Obviously, I know you've done some recent stuff with Happy Gilmore 2 and stuff like that, but we had a few people ask about your passion for acting, if you're still pursuing that, and how cool it was kind of doing that recently and being in those films and stuff like that.
Oh, dude. It's always a blessing and a freaking true honor to be able to still go out there and do some acting stuff. I did audition for Happy Gilmore 2 as a coach. And, unfortunately, didn't get it. Sandler, Adam, hey, would have crushed it, man. Would have freaking crushed it. Unfortunately, didn't get that, but hey, I get it. Uh, I'm always looking. I'm always looking at some if I can find some time to kind of get involved with that. Still, that's still a passion that I'm very like forefront and thinking about. I always want to try and find ways to do some acting on the side if I can. And then obviously, if you guys have seen the new Apple TV show Stick, that's pretty freaking huge. I was in an Apple TV show, one of the best Apple TV shows out actually right now. So to be able to be a part of that was incredible. Ben Silverman, he is insane. I He's just such a cool dude. If you guys don't know who that is, he's the executive producer for The Office and has done a lot of amazing work. And we got to actually sit down with him, meet with him, talk with him, and he kind of shared some pretty awesome stories. And to be able not just a part of like a cool acting gig, but something that big was incredible. It really was. And he's trying to get us back out for for the next season and maybe other seasons after that. I would love to have more of a role. Absolutely. Give me some more lines. I freaking love it. I love that vibe in that area. That's just where I thrive. I thrive so heavily on that. Not only from like being able to take coaching and direction from directors, but like to be able to learn and like adapt and do improv stuff. We did some improv stuff while we were there. That is just where I thrive. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, if there's anybody out there that has some work, I'm always looking for it. I absolutely love acting, and it is a passion that I'm going to try my best to continue to pursue with good and my channel and my stuff. It is really flipping hard, but if there is a way to make it work, I will do the extra travel and make it work for sure. But I still love it 100%.
Love to hear it, man. I meant Stick. Sorry, not Happy Gilmore 2 and Full Swing is what I was thinking of.
And Full Swing,
From
yeah, got to be
yeah,
Full Swing. Are you
yeah, that
kidding me?
was pretty cool. Yeah,
That was sick with Min Woo
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
I would love to do some more stuff like that too. That was like a low key chill kind of vibe, but that was so much fun.
All right, this was submitted from a couple fans. Brad Dalkey, Sean Walsh. They want to know if you're a boxer or a whitey tighty guy. I have no idea what that means, but they told me to ask you that.
Oh, dang, they cooked me that video. Huh? Yeah, cooked me in front of Dak. That was unfortunate. Golly. Yeah, no, I don't wear tidy whiteys, Brad. Okay, the bald headed eagle. Gosh dang it, that was a tough video for me, but that was a pretty funny video. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm more of a anything other than the whitey tidies, I think I'm gonna have to go with that answer.
Fair enough. I did not catch the Dak video. I caught a little bit of the ending, but last one from the faith. They just want to know what you do in your personal life. I mean, that's kind of a question I had too. But I know you're obviously pretty open about your faith, and you could talk a little bit about that. But what do you do when you're not filming? Obviously, spending time with Maddie, your wife now. But just open up a little bit about that. People are curious about that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's the hobby, right? Some Legos. Love doing that in my free time. Obviously, I'm trying to continuously keep posting on Scharff Wars and keep getting some fun creative content going, but that can be pretty difficult. I try my best to film on my personal channel. That can be very difficult. You know, for me, I want to keep filming on my personal channel and keep being creative and doing that sort of stuff. But I mean, as you guys can see, and maybe if you go back to some of those older videos where I was like kind of quiet and mad all the time, I was starting to burn myself out. I think it can be very difficult for all of us in good to continue to pursue our own personal channels and also do good uh, because you'll burn yourself out. You'll burn yourself out really, really quickly. And I don't want to do that because I want to give 100%. I want to give 100% to all the good fans because they deserve it. Not saying that the Matt Sharp fans don't deserve it, but all 310,000 of you should be subscribed to Good. All of you should be going from mine to Good because that's where I really truly thrive. And like I can kind of take my hands off the steering wheel as far as the post production goes and just get into my element and just entertain. That's where I go to like truly entertain. And I try to go to my channel to like work and get better at the game and those sort of things. But you can't burn yourself out. And I think that's the most important part for me being a creator is to be able to create. And if I burn myself out, then I'm letting down all the fans, and I can't be a part of that. And that's why I get some flack and some heat from, whoa, why don't you ever post on your channel anymore? Why aren't you doing anything? And that's the reason. Maybe I'll come out with a more detailed video on my channel and kind of talk about those sorts of things. But I truly do want to give 100% of my effort and show up to all the good videos in the best way I can, with the most amount of energy that I can bring. Obviously I'm like a 50-50. Like there's 50 that love me and then there's 50 that hate me, which is, it's tough being an outgoing personality like myself. It's just something that I had to come to terms with. And I just had to tell myself, listen, Matt, you got to continue to be yourself because if you allow yourself to kind of dig into the other side of the 50 and you just want people to see you as positive and you're only this and this and this, then you're going to kind of strip what your actual personality is, and you can't do that because then it'll seep into the content and people will not like you. So I pride myself on being as real as I possibly can on camera, whether that means screaming on the golf course and getting excited about a 3-foot putt that I make for triple bogey. Couldn't care less. I'm going to do those sorts of things because that is generally at the core who I am. I'm just excited about everything. Um, but yeah, I'll try to do that better for you guys, the fans. I'll try and post some more stuff, but I generally do like to be creative on my own channel. I love posting, love making fun content and stuff.
It's hard, man. It's hard managing. I mean, like I respect like, Sean, Brad, even like Garrett, who's still like actively posts on GM, and I completely understand, man. I can't imagine how drained or tiring it must be for you being like a core member, right? Since you're doing everything, not only behind the scenes, but you're in almost every video, stuff like that. And then you have, appearances, whether it's with sponsors or you got to be here, here, here. Like I think we see it similar to like not like Scotty Scheffler, but like you have to step back and unplug and separate this from not let it go home with you and with spending time with your wife or like outside of work. So I can't imagine how difficult that it was on still on top of trying to post on your personal channel like when you have the free time, right? I mean, when you do get free time, I can't imagine you want to be continuing to work. So I completely understand, and I'm sure a lot of your subscribers understand as well, me being one of them, that it's just tough, man. It's just tough to grow good and do all of that and be all into that. Your personal life, right? Everything around it, your faith, Maddie, and everything else, and then your personal. It's just so much compartmentalizing. I think a lot of people generally understand that. And dude, it's but it makes me respect a lot of the guys, like I said, Garrett, Sean, those guys who still do it because it's just so hard to manage so much, and you only have so much time in a day, right? You only have so much free time. So
Yeah, and I love that you bring up the point of Scotty because I've watched so many of those interviews now, and that is that is it right there. Everything that he said, I identify with so much that uh, that my purpose and my divine and eternal purpose is not tied to what I do on the golf course. It never will be. Obviously, I love what I do, and I'm very blessed to have the job that I have. Yes, it comes with the struggles of having to travel and all the back end stuff and trying to compartmentalize. That is one of the hardest parts of my job. But my divine purpose is not tied in golf. It won't be. I have some of the greatest accolades you could ever ask for in the game of golf. Freaking 2 hole-in-ones on par fours. I got more hole-in-ones on par fours than par threes. Some crazy hole-out shots. Being able to film with some incredible people doing a freaking gainer in front of Steph. Him saying I'm a better athlete than LeBron. Like, let's just, you know what I'm saying. Like being able to meet, Mr. Nicklaus. Like those sorts of things. I have some of the one of the greatest sheets of all time, but that is not where my identity is found, and it never will be. Uh, you know, like you said, diving into my faith, like that, that is where that is where I find myself. That is my true identity. That is my true purpose. Trying my best and my hardest to understand that this body is not mine. The accolades are not mine. The money that I have is not mine. The YouTube channel I own is not mine. None of it is mine. It is all his, and it's all for his kingdom. And I just pray that I can continue to speak to this younger generation and tell them, listen, this is why I am successful. Uh, these things that I've done, all amazing. And yes, they have come through hard work, and I have worked my absolute tail off to get where I'm at the last, 6, 7, 8 years. I have worked my butt off to get here, but it is not what keeps me going. If I got another 4 hole-in-ones in my career, it would be unreal, right? It would be unreal. But that is not where I find myself. That is not my purpose. My purpose is in, doing what Jesus asks me to do to the best of my ability. Loving my wife as they say that a husband is supposed to you're supposed to love your wife like Jesus loved the church, and Jesus died for the church. So I need to be willing and ready to die for my wife, not just in the physical sense. It goes much more beyond that, but like doing my best to take care of the family that we got here, the family that we will create in the future. Doing my best to inspire the youth and tell them that our purpose is not tied to what we do. Our purpose is tied to what the Lord asks us to do, and trying to speak to them the best way that I know how. Obviously, I post a little bit on Snapchat. I do my best to post on Instagram every now and then. I'm doing some cool little Bible studies and those sorts of things. But I just love those Scotty Scheffler interviews because talk about a rap sheet, man. That guy's insane. He's winning every freaking tournament he's playing, and he's going, that's great. I'm not going to ever sit here and say that what I'm doing is not great. I'm winning tournaments left and right. I'm winning majors. I mean, the guy's got freaking over $90 million in winnings. And that's just on the course, not to let alone sponsors and how much he's making. The guy's insane. But he's like, this is not where my identity's tied. And it's great for 2 minutes. I win the Masters and it's great for 2 minutes. I win the Open. It's great for 2 minutes. But like just those interviews that he's done, I would recommend all of you guys to go watch those interviews and listen to what he says, because that's exactly how I feel, and I will forever love YouTube. I'll forever love the career that I do and the people that I get to meet and doing interviews with you and hopefully other people. But, any chance that I get to kind of spread the message and let people know that this is not me, I'm gonna take that opportunity. So I hope that the fans can understand that. Um, and I'm not saying that I'm just gonna, I don't know, like give up and quit and say, oh, well, here's what it's gonna be, and I'm just gonna only do this now. It's just moving forward. It's just gonna be a different vision, a different purpose for me. So I'm trying, I'm working, I'm failing a lot, but when you fall on your back, the only thing you can do is look up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm trying my best to look up right now. So
You're
yeah,
real, man. I think you're a really real human being. I think, like you said, you're the same person you are off camera as you are on camera. I've heard that from a lot of different people. And I think you realize what the priorities are. I mean, you are a good role model for people. And I think you realize you have a platform reach, and it's super cool to see you want to grow that outside of just what you're doing in the game of golf, because what good is doing for the game of golf, whether people hate on you or not, it's insane. It's getting, like, for example, like I'll tell you a quick story, just 'cause I know we're at time here, but I was at the Michigan Golf Show in March, and for me, I was like under 1,000 subscribers at this point. And I was handing out business cards, and basically I would just look for everyone with a good hat. Be like, hey, you like good? I'll subscribe to my channel. And there was hundreds of kids, adults there, all in good hats, and that's just in one area. Right, it's super cool to see what you guys have done in the game of golf, but for you to set your priorities straight, like Scotty, is super cool. Last one here, Matt, and then I'll let you go. How cool has it been filming with Steph Curry, all these professional athletes, football players, etc. These last few months? How cool has that been for you, and to, like I said, hang out and get quotes from guys like Steph Curry, and just all these experience you've had filming with all these athletes over these past few months?
Yeah, dude, it has just been incredible. I think like like I said before, when you're meeting like people that are actually like up there, like famous, like Curry, Dak, Jack, like you're meeting these people, and you're kind of going in with this preconceived notion of, okay, this person's going to be this way because they've got X amount of money, they've got X amount of accolades, they're just going to act a certain way. And when you kind of meet them and you realize that that is not the case, and that they genuinely are excited to be where they're at, and they're excited to meet you and kind of make you feel like a human, like they are, it's incredible. First time we met Steph, it was very much like that. He was a little bit more busy. He had some interviews and stuff that he had to do after, but we were done with the golf, and he was a little nervous meeting all of us. It's much more nerve wracking for him because he's meeting. I feel like he's meeting multiple different personalities that he's got to try to hit, and we're just like all on Steph. We're like, nah, 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 right? So I'm sure it's much more different and difficult for him to be like, all right, holy crap, what am I doing here? Like, how do I hit all these personalities? But he started to open up, get warmer a little bit. We started to share more personal stuff to make him feel more welcome and stuff. And then once we were done filming, it's like, all right, well, that's it. But he's like, let's go shoot some hoops, right? We got this basketball court. Let's go shoot some hoops. And that's when he kind of like really broke out of his, he kind of got into Steph, I feel like, because that's just where he thrives, is on the court. And it was incredible to see him kind of open up that way and kind of make us all feel like, it's literally like Steph Curry, and then it's like us, right? So it's like, it's crazy to think, but he kind of brought it, and he was like, yeah, let's get here, right? Because I'm just a human like you guys, and he's giving us some cool stories, and we got to play horse with him, and then obviously the greatest thing ever, he got to throw an oop to me, and we got it first try. Like, that was an incredible experience that whole day. And then you wait, and then we get to go back and play with him again. And now we get him on the golf course for a couple hours. And now we get cart cams. We get more personalized conversations with him. Obviously, I asked him a couple of questions that you guys can go back and listen to, and some more questions that we asked, like, kind of off camera as well. But you meet such a big personality like that, who is unbelievably famous and unbelievable accolades in what he's done in the game of basketball, and it's like, he's just such a cool dude, and you just wouldn't necessarily expect it because of how high up there he is, but he does an unbelievable job of bringing himself, like, to say, listen, it's not here. I'm not going to treat you like this. Like, we're both here. And we asked some real questions. He asked us some real questions, had some funny jokes. He signed that freaking ball. He signed a ball for me that says, to Matt, the most, what did he say? Let's just read it. To Matt, the most above average athlete I know. What a dog for that. That's such a joke, but that's so funny. Like, that's something that I'll keep forever. And then, he signed a bunch of stuff for us as well. I got a freaking signed Curry jersey over there. Like, he took the time when he didn't need to. And it was really, really cool to see. Same thing with Mr. Nicklaus too. Like, they don't have to be doing any of this, right? And yet they take the time. Dak, same thing. We got to film 9 holes with him and some of his buddies. It's just like, those experiences are unbelievable, and I hope that I can get more and more of those cool experiences filming with really, really cool people in the future. And I know we will. I know good has the opportunity and the ability to do it, and it's just really, really cool to be able to kind of level with some of these guys who are at the top of their field, not just good at what they do, right? Like, they're at the top of their field. So it really is inspiring and really cool to see that, you know any thoughts and things that people have against, like how people see Steph Curry, like, oh, Steph's this guy and he does this, and oh, Mr. Nicklaus is this way, and it's just not the case. It really genuinely is not the case. I hate how social media can unfortunately turn it and make you seem, a specific way. And it's definitely done that for me. And, that's just part of it. But I try my best, like you said, when I meet people, I'm the guy that you get on camera. And I hope that can shine through. Uh, and that all the fans can see I'm exactly what you see on camera. And that can be difficult, but hey, that's just what it is. That's just what I'm going to be.
I feel it, man. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for the time today, man.
Of
This
course.
was awesome. I always enjoyed the interviews, the good guys. I know I told you off camera, but everyone has treated me so great coming on my channel. And the time, I've never paid an appearance fee. You guys come on through the goodness of your heart, and you guys really are committed to growing the game. Congratulations to all the success you guys are having at Good, as well as your solo channels. Any last minute messages before we sign off? Plug, whatever you want, and then I'll let you go, man. Thank you so much for your time today.
No, hey, thank you so much, Marco, for having me on. I love doing podcasts and interviews. I hope that I can do some more in the future. I just genuinely love to talk and get to know the people that are interviewing me and kind of set some stuff out for the fans and kind of lay it out there a little bit more. So I love being able to open up and talk about some of my personal life because I just feel like they deserve to know. You guys are all the fans that watch. You guys, you're the reason that I have what I have. You're the reason that I get to go travel and meet these cool people is because you guys make it possible. So genuinely, thank you, all the fans who make this possible. You guys are amazing. Anyone who's ever bought in good apparel as well, like that's a big part of what we do. So I truly do appreciate it. I know it can be a lot. So we're gonna, try our best to continue to make it with great quality and take our time and be involved in more of the decisions and making cool apparel outside of just golf apparel, making some more lifestyle stuff, right? So we're gonna try our best to continue to make it as good for you guys as we possibly can. But yeah, just love you guys, and I thank you so much for what you do. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I've said my message and my purpose and why I'm here and why I do what I do. Um, but yeah, I just pray that I can continue to compartmentalize and keep going when it gets hard, and yeah, I just love what I do and I'm so grateful I get to do it. But thank you, Marco, for having me on.
Yeah.
This was a treat and a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you in Chicago in a few weeks, and we'll
All
link
right.
up in person. Drop Matt a sub. Drop me a sub. Thank you, guys.